In this video we will go through the main reasons why an individual or a business fails during a recession and how to combat that, how to avoid that. Then you might ask, why should we look at the main factors why an individual or a business fails during a recession? Well, if we follow the advice of Charlie Munger, who used to be the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, he said invert, always invert. So it could really make sense to look at these factors so we know what we should avoid at all cost. It can be really difficult to identify a bad idea in the moment of having an idea. And we might also slip into bad behavior with time. So it might really make sense to investigate these together. So what are some of the major factors why a business or an individual fails during a recession? The first one is giving up. When things are tough, it is easy to be tempted to want to throw in the towel. And for a business, that might mean that filing for bankruptcy or shutting down the business. And for an individual who has lost their job, might giving up trying to find a new one. As Charlie Munger used to say, a prescription for misery is to go down and stay down when you get your first, second or third severe reverse in the battle of life. So giving up might mean that we don't try again, even when things are hard. Or it might mean that we adopt the idea that we're not good enough, we're a failure, we're not meant to do this, etc. The second factor for failure during a recession is passivity. Why reach out to potential clients when no one is buying anyway? Why applying for a new job when no one is responding? You see, the pain of rejection might cause us to stop working and staying passive. This is really a recipe for failure, because if a person stays passive, that gives them enormous amounts of time to think about their failure, and that reinforces the idea that they have failed. So they adopt an idea of being a failure, and then they stop working and they start to see more results of this idea of being a failure. So this becomes a reinforcing cycle. So quadrant 4 activities refers to the time matrix introduced by Stephen Covey in the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that basically means activities that are waste of time, and spending endless time on scrolling on social media, watching endless series, for example, or things like this that are wasting our time. And these are activities that leaves us feel more drained than before when we started them. So it's not actually regaining our energy when doing this. It's not a positive thing to do in our free time. It actually takes more energy than they give. It's a negative return on this investment of time. This might also include spending more time on preparation during work, for example, or the student that never enters the workforce or start their own business but only continues to study but actually never work. The next factor that contributes to a failure during a recession is feeling sorry for oneself. And Charlie Munger, he said that the one thing to avoid in life is to feel sorry for oneself. Self-pity is really something we want to avoid, because it reaffirms the idea of us being a failure, of not being able to accomplish something. So the person who really wants to fail, they should make as much effort as possible to indulge in self-pity. And another factor that can really contribute to failure during a recession is not paying bills or taxes on time. This is a behavior that will start to compound fast, because if you don't pay your bills, they will start to have interest. This is really a recipe for failure during a recession. And if you want to feel stressed or pressured every day, a great way to do that is to avoid paying your bills and taxes on time. So the next point and contributed to failure during a recession is isolation. If you want to feel stressed and depressed, you should really isolate yourself and avoid spending time with other people. And you should really try to keep all your problems by yourself and try to solve them for yourself. And this will really increase the sense that you're not able to solve them, and that you're maybe take worse decisions than if you would have discussed them with other intelligent people. So many of these points that I went through might seem obvious when we talk about them like this, but I cannot tell you how often it is that people slide into them unconsciously, or they're not aware that they're doing something that is bad for them, because they become blind to their own habits. So really highlighting these activities and these flaws or these bad habits can really be a good way to remind ourselves to not be engaging in them. So now when we know what to avoid, what are some things we should be engaged in during a recession? The first one I want to bring up is income generating activities. because income is more difficult to get during a recession. That is why we should spend a lot of time trying to accomplish income and trying to generate income. And it is almost like cash has a higher value during a recession, because since less people are spending money, more people are unemployed, there's less money flowing in the market. So this causes prices of assets to go down, which makes the person who has cash or has a stable income, they're able to buy assets at discounted prices. So that's why it's really valuable to focus on this. And cash also makes our business survive during this climate. And if we already know beforehand that cash will be much harder to generate and get our hands on during a recession, we can prepare for that, so that we're mentally prepared for it and that we're not taken by surprise by that during a recession. So any additional cash that you generate during a recession is good, even though if it's less than you're generating during a market boom. We could make sure to spend some hours each day doing market outreach. We could send thank you cards or small gifts to existing clients, things that potentially generate cash flow and income. The person who has lost their job could make a plan to visit and connect with X amount of businesses each week. And even a lower qualified job than they have education for would be positive here, because that would generate income for them and they would feel like a positive momentum for them. So even a lower qualified job would be acceptable here. So one thing that we should be doing during a recession is focusing on our circle of influence, focusing on everything that we can affect, that we can control and that we can have influence over. Because during a recession it is easy to focus on everything that we cannot have influence over, that we cannot control, like no one is spending money, there is a war in Europe, for example, or bad things that are happening. But if we can focus on the things we can control and things that we can have influence over, our sense of control or sense of self-efficacy grows, and we can actually be much more proactive, and that can help us to generate income. And this could look like reconnecting with old friends or colleagues, sending thank you cards or letters of appreciation to people. It could mean that you exercise more. It could mean that you sign up for a course that will increase your value in the marketplace later on. You could sell off old junk from your garage that you're not using, freeing up cash to pay off debt. There are many things that we can do that have a positive impact on our situation. Doing a few things each day within our circle of competence will help us to wait out the recession, and you might even take advantage of it while doing this. So another thing that you should consider during a recession is selling assets that has increased in value. Because even during a recession, some assets might increase in value. For example, there might be you might have an old painting that you inherited from your grandma or something, and it just happens that this artist now costs more than it used to. Or a table that you found in a flea market might be worth more than 2 years ago. Or that if you have inherited any gold jewelry or something, that might also have increased in value during these times. So instead of panic selling other assets at low prices during a recession, really investigate which of your assets has increased in value and consider selling those to free up cash or to pay off debt or to make new investments. Another thing you could do during a recession is applying for jobs which gives an opportunity to grow and learn something new. So if you find such a job, it might be worth taking it, even though you might be a hardcore business owner or like really focused on before that you should be self-employed. But right now, if the customers aren't buying, accepting an opportunity where you can both earn good salary and where you can learn something might be a great opportunity. So it might be worth being flexible here and switching your mindset to that. I have a friend, he used to run his own business for a few years, and then he got the opportunity to work for a super cool AI startup in Stockholm called Lovable. And So then he accepted that opportunity and worked there. So and now he's starting his own second company. So if we see these opportunities where we can really learn something valuable, it might be a good idea to take them. Applying for a part-time job. This could also be a really good thing to do during a recession, because if your customers aren't buying at the moment or postponing buying to the future, having extra income at this time could be really valuable, because you could stop, for example, paying yourself a salary from your company, which would save a bunch of taxes, and you would still have cash in your company. You could also have additional income so that you could continue your monthly investment plan, for example, if you invest in index funds or stocks, for example. So going out to find a second income stream in the form of a part-time job could be excellent. It could be a place where you learn something new and grow, like I talked about before, but it could also be a simpler job that just frees up cash for you. So for example, in my early 20s, when I was starting my first YouTube channel, I also took a job as a receptionist so that I had some stable income during that time. And later I got a job at that same company as in sales, in B2B sales, where I learned a lot, and that had a huge effect on me being able to build my own six-figure company after that. So learning from having part-time jobs and learning from work positions can be a great way to learn and to develop. Another thing we should plan in and make sure that we do during a recession is energy generating activities that gives us energy and that brings out happiness in us, because when things are tough, it is easy to forget those things, but we should really remember that investments in our own happiness will have a really positive effect on our work life and in our business at the same time, because positive energy will generate more business for you. So to really take the time and prioritize these during a recession can be really important. It can look different from different people, but it probably will include something with meaningful relationships, like your partner or your family, some type of exercise, which is really good for you and brings happiness. So something that you enjoy. It could be walks, it could be running, it could be strength exercise, or playing tennis, or something you enjoy, or swimming, or something that really makes you happy. And this will give you an edge during this time, because when everyone else is depressed and or stressed out about the situation, if you can radiate with a positive energy during this time, guess who people want to make business with? You, because you make them feel good. So that's why this is so important. Another thing you should be doing during a recession is gather no's. Because during a recession, getting rejected might feel even tougher than before, because suddenly you might face a rejection rate that is double than before. If you are used to making 10 sales calls and getting 1 or 2 new clients per 10 sales calls, and now suddenly you make 50 presentations or calls and you get 1 client, you will start to doubt yourself. But if you instead can shift your focus during this time to gather no's, to gather a list of rejection, that can really change the mindset for you, so that you don't stop doing these activities that are valuable, because you really need that customer, you really need that additional income. Even though sales are lower than before, we really need to continue and doing the right activities that bring in customers and that bring in additional revenue. So gathering no's and really going out to seek rejection during this time can be a great way to challenge yourself and to not be afraid and scared of rejection during this time. So another thing we should be focusing on during a recession is generosity and reciprocity. Because during a time when everyone is cutting down on everything and everyone is kind of in this state of lack and that there's not enough cash in the market. And if we also do that, we're sending a message to ourselves that there's not enough cash, we're lacking it, there's a lack in the marketplace, and then it's even more difficult to get new customers or to land that new job, for example, or to get things going. But if we can plan in activities of generosity, could be sending out thank you cards, small gifts, letters of appreciation, then we start to tap into a state of generosity. And for me, that is really a key to change a negative state, or to really get into a better place that has better opportunities for generating income and to get ahead. So imagine when everyone else is cutting down and are spending less money and less attention on their customers. If you, one business, are generous towards the customers, you send out thank you cards, or you do some act of generosity towards them, it's really, really easy to stand out, to make you rememberable during this time. Another reason why this works so well is because of the principle of reciprocity, and that is really built into our psyche. And the reason why that works is because our whole society is built of kind of trade of positive actions and gifts and goodwill to each other. And the reason why that has been built so is because when we were hunter-gatherers and someone had hunted a big mammoth, for example, there was no place where they could store that meat. The only place they could store the meat was in the bellies of the neighbors. So they invited everyone for a big feast, and everyone was happy. And why they did this? Because they knew that the next time someone else had taken down a mammoth, they would do the same. So this is how this habits of generosity and reciprocity started, and it's still built into our psyche today. Even small acts of reciprocity can have a huge effect. So this is something we really should build into our business, or if we are applying for jobs, and to engaging during this time. Even Warren Buffett, he takes the time to write letters of appreciation to send to people that he thinks has done something good for society, or that he admires. So, and he's in his 90s. So even him, being such a enormously wealthy person and influential person, takes the time to do this. That to me is a clue that this is something we also should be engaged in, because it kind of builds in goodwill into our brand and into our business, and makes others want to help us. So, and it also taps into this, I really want to live in an abundant world. So that's also why we should be doing this, because if we help each other, if we give gifts, if we do things for others, that really is a nicer place to live in. Another thing we should be doing during a recession is activating our network. And one mentor that I used to have, sales executive in Stockholm, he said that he had focused too little on this. He had not put enough effort into building and keeping in contact with his network, and he thought that was a mistake. So this is something that we really should be engaging in, because chances are that we have met people that are influential and that could help us a great deal. Perhaps also that we could help them a great deal. So keeping in contact with these people could really be valuable. So it could be old friends or old colleagues, for example. So one thing to remember here is, when we do this, we should not seem to want something from the other person, because that is creepy. I'm not sure if you have experienced that, when someone contacts you and you feel that they want something from you, advice or they want to take something from you. So that is not how we want to come across. We really want to come across as someone who is generous and who wants to reconnect. Because if we, for example, invite them for a coffee somewhere, and we pay the coffee for them, for example, and have a nice time. If you would apply for a job, for example, where they work in the future, chances are much higher that they would recommend you over someone else because of this. Or chances are also that if you offer a service in your business, they might refer you customers in the future. So this is really a long-term investment that we should engage in, and we should be the generous person here. So making a small favor for them, or offering to pay something for them, or investing in our own goodwill, because we want to have a large network of people who are interested in helping us in the future. That is a huge thing that we want. So taking time to do this now when we have more time can be really valuable. So reflect on some of the things that you need to avoid during this time, so you're not engaging in activities that actually hinder you, but make sure to do these activities that help you both now and that will help you in the future, because it might be small things that make you be able to survive this time. And so we really need to be smart during this time and make the right things and avoid the bad habits that can be easy to slip into during a recession. So have a great week and see you next week.